Hey, everybody. My name is Jeff Teschke. Welcome to this webinar, Online Client Service Center and Mobile Apps. How do you use these things to not only wow prospects, but also carry it through to the client side? That's what this kind of deep dive-ish webinar is focused on. So it's kind of one topic and how you can think about using the Client Service Center to wow people. That's the whole idea here. So Forge 3 is the company that I work for. My name is Jeff Teschke, founder and CEO of that company. Started Forge 3 back in 2004, which is crazy to think of. So quite a while ago. That's my wife in a little airplane that we were flying around. That's my kids in the back, Connor and Ella. Ella on the right is turning 9 on in 2 days, I guess, on Thursday. So that's pretty cool. So fortunately, though, for me, and especially for all of you, I'm not alone on this one. I really don't like doing webinars alone. I feel it feels lonely. So fortunately, you might know this guy. Zack is with us. Say hi, Zack.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy to join Jeff and Andy on this webinar. And we've got some exciting stuff to cover. So I'm ready to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So some of you probably know Zack. We have quite a few clients using Active Agency, which is our website platform. On this particular webinar or watching the recording back. You might have talked to Zack or somebody on the sales team based out of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, the majority of you probably did. So most of the time I'm not remembered by the time the site's launched, though, because our production team is so good. So if you did remember me, go ahead and leave us a good review, because I don't get a lot of love on the reviews. So
that's true. Almost all of the feedback, the great feedback on the website, on the Forge 3 website, is not for Zack.
Absolutely.
Zack who?
Yeah.
Anyway, Andy who? Andy, somebody new. So normally webinars, we don't have Andy on them. So Andy's from GloveBox. Andy, say hello to everybody and tell them who these folks are in the picture and why you're here today.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you having me as a co-panelist today. My name is Andy Mathisen, co-founder and chief marketing officer of GloveBox, a newer insurtech company here in Denver, Colorado. I'm actually a former agency owner of a fairly large independent agency here in Denver that we sold in 2019. When we sold that agency, we wanted to help the industry by starting a company like GloveBox. So we'll chat a little bit about what that is, but definitely looking to provide value for you today. So this is my family here, my 2 kids, my wife. So excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Andy. And you and I have something in common. I started my career way back when in the late 90s working for Chubb, big insurance company, obviously. And then I worked at the big agency, Personalized Insurance Brokerage, PLI is what it was called before it was sold to Hub. My dad ran that agency, 300 people across the country. So I learned a lot about the insurance industry, and I'm sure you did too, working in the weeds of that. So let's get this thing started. So using your Client Service Center and mobile app to wow. So what's this all about? Here's our agenda. We're going to focus on these first 2 items just to start, and we'll go into some real live websites. I think it's best to visualize it that way. So Zack and I will talk about a couple of things just to conceptualize Client Service Center. And then Andy, you can kind of jump in and show us what GloveBox can do to potentially augment that even more and take it a step further. So these first 2 pieces, using your website to streamline operations and wow clients. And then the second bullet here, understanding the role of an online client service center. So what I figured we could do here, Zack, is just pull up some real live websites. I just happened to pick a couple that just launched the last day or 2. All of these are built on our Active Agency website platform. So like I said, a lot of you watching this are already using Active Agency. So you're familiar with this. It's a complete website platform, has a bunch of sales tools, servicing tools built into it. You'll see the design is really incredible. It's kind of what we're known for in the industry. These aren't cookie cutter template designed websites, highly flexible. So everything that you see here on this homepage for this particular agency, Williamson Insurance, is going to look different on other websites. That's the whole idea here. So if we keep going down, this is just the homepage, obviously. Some of the tools, we're not going to focus on all of these other different pieces of Active Agency. That's not what this is about. But you might have seen this, Clickable Coverage, these interactive graphics. This actually came up with this about 6 years ago, I guess now, 6 or 7 years ago. It's a really great way to visualize what insurance is. What's the risk that person has, whether they're a business owner or a person with a home or a car? And then what's the solution? Well, the solution is always going to be to have the right coverage in place. We know that. So there's 40 some of these interactive graphics kind of built into Active Agency. And then here, though, is the client service center portion. So you can see right here on the homepage, we kind of have it highlighted. This is pretty typical, right, Zach? You'll see this on most homepages, and then we can kind of take a deeper dive into the actual client service center. But anything to add, Zach, to what I just mentioned?
Yes, I mean, with clickable coverage, I know a lot of you probably already know what it is. The main goal, again, yeah, it is educational, but also we want to be keeping people on your site as long as possible, right? That seems to be one of the biggest challenges when it comes to insurance. One thing that Google is trying to look at is the user experience behind your site and how that works and how long people are hanging out and clicking around and things like that. So the tough part about insurance is sometimes the content isn't as engaging as it needs to be. But with clickable coverage, what that's going to do is it's actually going to draw people in because, to be honest with you, it's a nice shiny object to hold their attention, right? So, if you put all this content on a page, not everybody's going to read it. You put it behind a blinking yellow dot, it's just human nature. They want to click on them. Curiosity killed the cat. So they keep clicking and clicking and they stick around on your site. So it's always a good thing. As far as the client center, GloveBox has some great stuff going on. What we have on our sites is kind of like, I would say like the minimum that you should have as an agency, right? So as far as self-service is concerned, so you should be able to report a claim, pay a bill, submit for a policy change, request certificate. All of this stuff are things that any agency should have accessible to their clients, right? In this day and age, especially with everything becoming more digital, that's an essential.
And some of these things are very simple. We see a lot of, there are almost 1,000 agencies using Active Agency now. So we've seen literally thousands of insurance agency websites over the years. And it's still, honestly, to this day, surprises me how many of those old fashioned kind of websites are out there that don't have anything on them. It's almost impossible to find the phone number, let alone a basic contact us form. Mm-hmm. And I'd say almost, I don't know what the percentage would be, Zach. It's kind of anecdotal. It's just gut feeling, but it's probably like 90%, 95% of the websites, the old websites that we see before Active Agency, I would say don't have any kind of client service center, right? Does that seem like an accurate number to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising, but not surprising with how much experience we've had in this industry. But it's just sometimes that common sense factor is gone. People want a really good looking website and they don't realize like, hey, we need the functionality behind it, right? So I had a demo with a guy this week. It took me 3 clicks to find his phone number. That is a problem, people. If I don't know how to reach out to you, how am I going to get a quote, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there are some basics. I mean, you can see there's obviously contact information is important. Here's another website. This is actually a refreshed Active Agency website. They've been Everett's Tremaine. We're one of the initial when we launched Active Agency years ago. But you can see the same kind of concept here. So these can be very basic things like reporting a claim. It could be just a simple claims form. It could link to the carrier website, or it could be GloveBox, which is what Andy's going to talk about in a few minutes. What about a policy change? Again, if the client is there, and let's say it's 3 p.m. or maybe 3 a.m. on Sunday. Well, are you going to be in the office ready for them to call you on the phone? Probably not. Are you going to be sitting there waiting for the live chat to come in on your website? Probably not. But if you give them the ability to at least get that process started, or I want a certificate, they can start that process without you having to be present, and it streamlines the entire process. There's a client that we have using Active Agency in Long Island, New York. They get 1,000+ certificate requests a year just through their website. So that's a lot easier for them to manage than if somebody just emailed them randomly or called them or whatever the case may be. It streamlines it. They can put a process in place. They can automate and streamline some pieces of that. Auto ID card is another easy example. There's nothing complicated going on here, but at the very basic level, you should be offering these types of common service requests on the website and make sure it's easy to find. You saw a couple of quick examples already on the homepage. You can see usually we'll put it up in the main header bar so that people can find it, whether they're on their computer or on a mobile device or whatever. Sometimes we'll feature it even at the bottom in a notification bar. So this thing here at the bottom, at the very bottom here that I'm highlighting, sometimes we'll put it down there, especially if the office is closed. Maybe there's a holiday or there's some sort of catastrophic event happening. There's a hurricane, there's a big snowstorm, there's a windstorm, whatever's happening, earthquakes. Well, that's a great little, we call those notification bars. You can highlight the client service center there because you know there's going to be an influx of claims coming in, or they're going to need you, and you may not even have power at the office. So how can you at least give them the option to do that? You can do it with these types of things. Some agencies will also put it in their email signature. We've seen that too, right, Zach, where we have links in the email signature linking directly to the client service center on the website.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, so one of the big things too is you can't just put this on your site and expect people to use it, right? You almost have to train your clients to use this stuff. And Andy, maybe that's something you can hop in on it. You know, how do you guys get people to use an app, or even if it's just the client center on the site, how do you get their clients to actually use it?
Yeah, it is a learned experience. So anytime you're talking about a client service center, you want to get them there. There's a number of ways to, make sure it's prominent in front of them and always aware that they're, being able to use it. Specific to what we do, we actually roll out for an agency. So we're actually getting automatic emails and text messages being sent out on behalf of the agency, reminding them of the features and the functionality that they can use in their service center. So that's very vital to the success of the platform. But also having it in your email signature, having it in your welcome emails when you bring on a new client. And every time you're on the phone with them, you want to delegate that phone call over to the technology you're using, whether it's your website or your app. So that's kind of the basics.
Yeah, and it's the reason we call it active agency is the more active you are as an agency, the more value you get out of these tools. And Andy, that's a perfect example. If it doesn't matter what kind of tech or what kind of options you give people, if they don't know about it, like you'll have some people stumble upon them naturally, but you're going to get a lot more uptick in usage if you're actively promoting it. And as we'll talk about at the very end, it's not just promoting it after they're a client, it's also promoting it when you're talking to prospects. This is one of those things that can differentiate the agency and set you apart. Because like I mentioned a few minutes ago, most agencies don't even have this basic block and tackling kind of stuff on their website. So just by doing this, you're already ahead of the game. And you could take it even a step further, which is what Andy's going to show you in a few minutes. So you get the idea here. There's some basics on here. All these can be customized, obviously. If there's something very unique, and let's say there's a certain kind of renewal process that you have for your contractors. Let's say you're really niched down in the contractors business. Okay, well, then you create something for that. But you get the idea, I think, on just how to think of this at a very high level. There is one other kind of unique piece that I just wanted to touch on very quickly. The renewal process. A lot of agencies don't do much of anything for the renewal. They kind of, I think, still cross their fingers and hope that it renews. And that's kind of the renewal process. You can be more proactive, obviously, and some of you probably are proactive. But what you could do is use something like this, again, built into some sort of client service center to streamline that renewal process. So instead of just hoping for the best, you can simply send a link. Just copy it up here in the address bar and paste it into an email and send that link to your client. And the client can then step through this and say, I have personal insurance. It's going to ask for their home address and go to the next. And kind of this form has smarts built into it. So it builds itself as you go. That then comes into the agency as an email. It gets saved in the active agency system. And then you can go through and see if there are any gaps in coverage. Are there any opportunities to upsell, to cross-sell, that sort of thing. That's a lot easier for a client to do than if you send them an email with a PDF attached to it or something. And what are they going to do with it? How do they fill it out? They can't do it on mobile. They have to print it, I guess, and then they're going to fax it to you. Like they have to, there's a lot of work that they have to do to make that happen, and they're probably just not going to do it. So this is another way to kind of think about the client service center, which is kind of a neat way to do it. And by the way, one other quick thing, I'll just do a hashtag Zack here. Hashtag Zack, we call this Hello Producer. So let's say it's the CSR on the account, or maybe it was the producer. And when you put that hashtag Zack up there, notice here at the bottom right, all of a sudden that person at your agency is now highlighted front and center so that you maintain, or that person maintains that relationship with the client or the prospect long after the sale. And even if this form comes in, whether it's this form or any other form, Zack's name is going to be attached to it. So we call that Hello Producer. Just a cool thing. And it kind of dovetails with the client service center because you can use it like that.
Yep. Absolutely. And then again, just something to highlight. Again, not everybody's going to use this, but if you guys just slowly work it up, you're going to save so much time within your agency. As far as service goes, obviously you still want to touch base with your clients so you can have that relationship, but it's a lot better to have a 5-minute conversation than a 30-minute conversation if you're covering the same stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. So that, I think, sets the stage a little bit on what Client Service Center should be, I think, at the very baseline minimum these days. But let's kind of take it a step further. So let's now look at the need for a self-service option. So what does a self-service option mean? Well, it's a little bit more than what you just saw. What you just saw were forms, essentially, and those forms can be integrated with your agency management system, and there's some things that we can do with that. But what if you truly want to provide the ability for your client to more self-service? So that is what Andy's going to talk about. So Andy, I'll let you take it away and show people what GloveBox is all about.
Nice. Yeah, you guys put it into perspective perfectly. Essentially, if you don't have the bare essentials on your website, what's the point of having a website? And so getting with Forge 3 to establish that baseline is vital to your success. And you want to reduce the number of phone calls, text messages, emails that are coming into your agency for what we call tier 1 service requests, things that aren't really making you money, that the client doesn't want to have to call their insurance agent on, and things that at the end of the day make your client feel good about working with your agency because you're providing them a platform that allows them to do it themselves, whatever task they're looking to do. And so I open up Cherokee Insurance Center here, and we actually have a guest speaker, David Cook, who will chat in just a minute. I'll chime him in. But what I want to display here is, obviously you see a beautiful looking Forge 3 website, and then very prominently on the page, they're welcoming you, they're saying hi, and what can we do to help you? And when I click on that Client Service Center, I'm going to see a couple options right away. What they have done here at Cherokee is they've plugged GloveBox into their website, and they also have a mobile app. So GloveBox is a self-service platform. It's a true engine to allow your client to get done what they want to do. What Forge 3 is offering is, again, that ability to make a request without having to call your agency or email your agency. What GloveBox will do is take it an extra step further, allowing the client to actually go grab their own documents, to actually go pay a bill with their carrier, start a claim, request service, request a quote, things that, again, they want to just do without having to call you. So let me just walk you through this process here. If I was to be on Cherokee's website and I was a current client of Cherokee, I can select the ability to log into my GloveBox. And so I'm immediately welcomed to the GloveBox page here. I can read up on what it means to be inside of GloveBox and click the launch button. Let me pause you right here. Typically, if I was to log into a client portal through multiple, I should say majority of agency websites, they're just going to push me over to the carrier list. And it's going to say, hey, who's your carrier? And at that point, I have to guess, oh, shoot, who am I with nowadays? Am I with Progressive? Am I with Travelers? Am I with Safeco? I don't remember. Gosh, I switch every few years. So that's tough because you're making the client guess. And then from there, once they actually do get to their carrier site, right, they're taken away from your website and there's no brand at all establishing for you, the agency. You become a ghost in the process. They forget that they even need you at that point because they're not on your website at all. Let me sign in here and show you what it means to be involved with GloveBox. Let me make sure that's my phone number. So we will have the client log in using their phone number or their email, and they can click Launch My Account. This allows me to get a PIN number sent to my phone, and I just got it. Oops, let me click this text field here, 266181, and that is your password. I don't have to remember a username and a password. I'm immediately just taken into my GloveBox, which allows me to see who I have policies with. So instead of going to a carrier list and then being taken over to the carrier site to figure out how to log into the carrier site, I'm inside of my agency's GloveBox here. And if I was to select Cherokee Insurance Center's logo, I can do all the things I want to do, request service, request a quote, and refer the agency out, et cetera. Or if I want to go in and grab my policies, pay a bill, start a claim with my actual carriers, well, Cherokee is plugged into our system to allow us to see what every individual client's policies are. And now I can display that to the client. So if I log in with my phone number, it associates me to whoever I have policies with that agency. So I'm clicking on Liberty Mutual. I see I have policies with them. There's my home policy with them. If I go back to my home screen, I can see that I have travelers. And if I click travelers, here are my home policies that I have with them. And I can do a few things. I can pay a bill, make a claim, or if I select the actual policy itself, it's going to prompt me to log into travelers. Now, let me tell you why this is different than the experience of showing a list of carriers and selecting travelers and getting pushed into traveler system. Watch this. If I click got it and connect to carrier, it's going to ask me one of two questions. You're going to either log into travelers right here, which is going to go ahead and pull the documents from traveler system and store them inside my GloveBox. So we only ask you to log in one time and it makes a solid connection to your carrier. It pulls the documents in, it stores it inside your GloveBox. So from here on out, they'll be stored inside here. Or if I don't have an account with travelers, which I say would be a majority of your clients, we go ahead and we give them their policy number, because in other scenarios where they ask to register for an account with their carrier, they're going to have their policy number in order to register. Now, I know, most of you don't have your policy number in your back pocket, so you're going to digging for it in a filing cabinet and you're confused on how to get your policy number. So we put it right there in front of them so they can copy it, they can click register, and they're taken right into travelers to register. Now, the second question, verify identity, would say, what is your policy number? I can go ahead and paste it and proceed to start my account with travelers. Now I can properly log in using my credentials. And I only have to type them in one time here. So let me do that. All right. So your computer will save your credentials, so you really wouldn't have to type them. But right now it's making a solid connection between GloveBox and travelers. It's grabbing the policy documents, storing them inside of GloveBox, so that when I come in a second time, third time, fourth time, I don't have to do this process. It's just a stable connection. Here they are. The policies have been added to my GloveBox. If I select one of them, I can now see that I have my policy documents available, and they're archived for all the policies that I've had with them in the past. So if I select this policy document here, you can see this is my actual deck page. If I was doing a refi or a mortgage, I don't have to call you to get my deck page or figure out how to get it. It's just right there, quick and easy to get. If I was to be pulled over and cop needs to see my ID card, well, I don't have it in my GloveBox over here. It's old. It's an old copy. I can grab it right here. So this makes it easy for the client to go grab their own documents. So I'll show you one more thing, and then I'll pose a question to David. The ability for you to have your policy number right here is a bigger deal than you think. Like I said, when you're asked to do any variety of things, the first thing they ask you, let's say I want to pay a bill, I'm not on EFT. What is your policy number? I don't know. Well, good thing I have it handy. GloveBox gave it to me. Now I can proceed to pay my bill. So you can see here, this is a very easy process to get started to pay my bill. All right. So let me go ahead and pose this question. David, can you hear me okay? And can you give me a test to make sure I can hear your audio okay?
I can hear you fine.
Nice. We got you as well. So you've had GloveBox for what, about 6 months now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, are you seeing, number one, a reduction in phone calls for the number of people calling you for ID cards and deck pages?
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of reduction in that. We've gotten pretty good penetration so far with our customers adopting it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have.
I would say you guys
as well.
Yeah, exactly. I would say you guys are sitting at I think a 33% adoption roughly. So 33% of your clients have started an account and accessed their policies. The reason why this is only going to increase is because we are sending our automation to inform the client once a month what they can do inside of your platform. So that's good. That's driving them back into your mobile app, which is on your phone, or the one that stems from your website. The one that the other side of it is, you guys are adding your email signature. You have it accessible on your website for quick and easy access to GloveBox for them to start their account. And now every time I log back into my GloveBox, my stuff's already here. I don't have to reconnect to travelers. All my policies just live right here for quick and easy access. So it makes life very easy for the client. David, talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing and what you're hearing from clients as far as feedback in general, the ability to have a true engine to be able to go do what they want to do without having to call you.
Well, the ones that we have that have used it with either service or claims have been very complimentary of it, and they've liked it a lot. And we are pushing it with every customer we have. We're telling our commercial customers that's on the way as well. And I really think that will also make a huge difference for us with because we get a astronomical amount of certificate requests daily, and this will help with that tremendously. But yeah, a lot of good feedback on it so far with claims, billing, asking for quotes, all that.
Perfect. And what's unique about this is there's a few different mobile apps out there that you can plug yourself into as an agency. But GloveBox is unique because we're connected to the carrier system. Now that means we're formally connected or we're embedding their portal into your GloveBox. There's two types of connections. If the carrier doesn't have an API, which means basically an outlet for us to plug in, then we just take their portal and we plug it into GloveBox. So there's two different ways to get there. Remember, if you are the type of agency that's simply listing out your carriers on a page and saying, go figure out how to get to your carrier and log in, you're leaving that exposure of leaving them on an island because they don't know their policy number, so they can't even register. So that's a big deal. Last thing for you, David. People are downloading your app on their phone. They have access to it on your website. What would you say has this done for your brand? Is your brand in general easier to refer, easier to be aware of in the community? Would you say that this is helping long-term establish a good platform for a branding side of things?
Without a doubt. And we do have a marketer on staff, and she absolutely thinks that it's a huge competitive advantage to us. Most of the other agencies in our area don't have anything even remotely close to this for their customers. I mean, they may have an app or whatever, but it connects to their system instead of directly to the carrier, which is much, much easier on our end to keep the customer up to date.
And last thing on this, if you do have an app that connects to your management system versus the carriers, you're opening yourself up for unreliable data, extra lift from an agency perspective to make sure it's accurate. Simply dragging and dropping documents into your management system, make sure that client's account is up to date. There's a lot more legwork there. Open yourself up for more exposure on that side. So being connected to the carrier has proven to be a much more stable, reliable connection. So that's all from my end as far as this side of things, and I'll kind of turn it back over to Jeff and Zach.
Yeah, we had a question for you, Andy,
that
came through from Jimmy Hanachuk. He was saying, does GloveBox integrate with all carriers, even the less vendor-friendly ones, like say Erie?
Yeah, and good question on Erie specifically. So there is what we call a Band-Aid if the carrier does not have an API. And Erie is one of those examples. They have given us permission. We go to them, we ask the carrier, hey, would you mind if we what's called scrape your system? Ultimately, that means we're intercepting their login screen and we're turning it into a GloveBox login screen. And then from there, we ask the client to log in, and that still allows us to pull the documents in and store them inside of GloveBox. So we're working on, hey, if you don't have an API, we're going to go ahead and ask you for permission to what's called scraping the account, scraping the site, and it allows us to intercept that login screen. If they are not going to go ahead and go that route, so there's really the third option there would be to take their portal and embedding it inside of GloveBox. So basically displaying Progressive, for example, inside of GloveBox for quick and easy access to log in. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we got another one.
Awesome.
That was a good question, Jim. Another question from Joseph. How does it connect to wholesalers or agency bill carriers? Any thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's going to allude to more your commercial side of things. And here's the quick answer. Commercial is currently in development to allow, clients of any product, whether it's going to be personal lines, commercial, life, or health is actually going to be included here in the next rollout in a couple of months. But basically, if the client or if the carrier does have a portal at all, allowing the client to log in, then we have the ability to connect. So, anything along those lines to allow the client to have access and control their stuff is available inside of GloveBox.
Nice. And a question from me, and maybe you can answer this, Andy, or maybe David, you can answer this. So does having like a self-service center or an app or any of that stuff, do you guys use that as part of like the sales process as far as the agency is concerned, or what does that look like on your guys' end?
Hey, David, if you want to speak on that.
Yeah. But we try to, I guess, the word be omni-channel service, I guess. We make it clear that, any way they want to access us, me, service center, or online, or just however, any way they want to do it, we are fine with. We do, however, try to get them to use anything that the simpler things in particular they can do on their own. And that we push that as hard as we can, and to get to do that, to hopefully lower the service load on myself as well as our other staff as well.
I think that's involving a process, right? You
Yes.
onboard a brand new client, you get that welcome email over to them, you have them download the app immediately or the access to your website, because either way they can get connected to their GloveBox. And so it's a part of the process. It's in your email signatures. It's a part of your website, et cetera. There's a lot of methods and strategy you can do to implement this into your system.
Yeah, and I think we kind of have a similar approach. Like when you think about live chat on a website, is every single prospect or client going to use live chat? Of course not. But for those who want to, you should give them that option. And it's the same thing here. Are you going to have 100% of your clients logging in or using a client service center, even like you see it built into Active Agency with forms and simple forms to reach out to the agency? No. Are you going to have every single client going into GloveBox and signing for the account and then no, of course not. But more and more people are going to expect these types of things. So if you can meet them where they're expecting to be met these days, if we can order something on Amazon and have it delivered at our door in 2 hours or less, we should be able as an industry to provide this certain level of service. The direct carriers can, the direct writers can. Well, the independent channel needs to embrace that as well. And that's why, we thought just from Forge 3's side of things, it was helpful to have Andy come on and talk about that a little bit. We're going to be doing more of these. We view our role at Forge 3 as being kind of tool agnostic, where we as the website kind of platform have a bunch of tools built into it, but then we should be able to connect and integrate with tools like GloveBox and like others. For all kinds of different reasons, whether it's live chat or chat bots or whatever, right? That's the whole idea here. So GloveBox app.com is the place to go to check out what Andy and the team are doing over there. I know that you guys just had an exciting event, I think, happen, right, Andy?
Yeah, we just raised a seed round of funding, which is allowing us to develop the product even further. And I'll just kind of cap it off on my end with this. When you start an agency, you typically have 3 core systems. You have a management system, you have a CRM, and you have a rater, typically, inside of an independent agency. There's one thing that's missing, and that's kind of a platform for a client experience. There's websites, of course, which are extremely vital. There's text messaging, emailing, calling. Those are all kind of different varieties of ways and methods to get in front of your client, but really looking forward to that next stage of how do you interact with your clients? Well, hopefully a platform, a self-service platform, just like GloveBox. So look out for further development here, and working alongside Forge to make our experience with Forge 3 better.
Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of wrap this up, and Megan, I see your question there, which we'll get to in 1 minute. Zach actually I think we spoke to this a little bit just to round out the agenda. This is very kind of quick hit stuff. Leveraging these tools and features during the sales process. It's like what we said before, don't wait until they're a client and say, oh, by the way, we have this really cool client service center thing. That should be during the entire process. The more that you promote it from beginning to end, the more impressive you're going to look as an agency, but also the more adoption you're going to get. And that goes for everything, not just GloveBox as a potential option, but for anything that you're using. I mean, Active Agency, for those of you that don't know, have all kinds of cool sales tools, and video proposals are in there. Use video proposals. Tell people about Hello Producer and Clickable Coverage and all these cool things built in. The more that you do that, the more active you are in doing that, the more value you're going to get out of it. And the more you're going to differentiate yourself as an agency. So don't just wait until they're a client and say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, we have this thing. You can actually kind of stack the deck in your favor by telling them about all this cool stuff you're doing ahead of time. And that really, I think these days is what growing any agency is about. The more that you put these different pieces together and tie them together, and where we can integrate the different pieces. I kind of view the website as a hub in a lot of ways. And then you have these different spokes that kind of latch into the website. GloveBox is potentially one of those spokes that you can explore. GloveboxApp.com and see if it's a good fit for you. Request a demo. We don't have any horse in this race, I guess is the way to say it. We just thought what Andy and the crew are doing at GloveBox is cool. And we just wanted to let you know about it, really. And we can work and kind of integrate active agency with what they're doing in a pretty seamless way. So if you're interested in what Forge 3 is all about, our website's the best place to go. You can see it here. I know a lot of you watching this are already using active agency, but if you're not, forge3.com, and you can click on active agency platform at the top, and you can get a sense of some of these different tools. We actually just announced Vertafore partnership, which is really cool on the AMS side. So the design, all the different things built into it. This is not a demo, what we're doing here, but clickable coverage. You can see video proposals, which are incredibly popular now, especially when COVID happened. More and more agencies are using video proposals during the sales process, but also during the sale or the servicing process too. Hello Producer, all the different ways that you can kind of highlight credibility. We call these power panels. So you can highlight 5-star reviews and that sort of thing. Lead capture forms throughout the website and all kinds of other stuff, right? So if you're interested in learning more about Forge 3 and active agency, forge3.com is the place to go. You can schedule a demo, and Zach or somebody on the team out in Columbus would be happy to show you around.
And I will say, Jeff, Zach, you guys have done a tremendous job of establishing great rapport in the industry. I come across, like you said earlier, terrible websites all the time. And so you guys have done a good job of getting your hand inside of the industry and making it well known that you're an elite product, you're doing it right, you're giving good options for your agency partners. And this is exactly what needs to happen. I mean, your clients come to a website for a reason. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Andy. And it's cool to talk with like-minded people, kind of pushing things forward. When we came out with active agency years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it was kind of a novel way of thinking about websites. And we just kept building more and more things into it. And that's, I think, why you've been seeing it all over the place and why we've been growing as quickly as we have. And all that feedback, by the way, that Andy's talking about, you can read it all unedited, completely raw. We don't hide anything. It's under the F3X difference, and you can we get this stuff coming in all the time, every day.
Cool.
Just tens and tens, and it's pretty cool stuff. So if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Any more questions that came in here live, Zach, that we missed? There was one from Megan, I think. Did we answer that one?
Yeah, I think Andy answered that. He said the feature for payment notifications will be coming this summer for GloveBox. Awesome. But I think that's it. Any other questions from everybody out there? Go ahead and now's the time.
Now's the time. And if not, you can watch the recording back. If you're watching the recording, thanks for watching the recording all the way to the end. Appreciate it. Here's our contact information. So the client experience team, if you're a client especially, this is the email address and the phone number for you to use. If you're curious about how the integration might work with active agency and GloveBox, reach out. You can chat with us on our website. You can call us, you can email us, whatever, and we'll be happy to chat through that kind of stuff. So Andy, thanks for joining us on this thing. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks so much. That was fun. It was informative and valuable. So.
And good luck with GloveBox and ramping things up now that you have that money in the door. And it's going to be pretty exciting to watch what you guys are doing. So thanks again, and thanks Zach for joining me as usual.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for all of you for watching this thing. We'll be in touch. See you, everybody.